My parents died so I could live. They did heroin and shot up. I never shot up because of that. Some of us have to die so others could live. And it's not my place to say why God does what and whose journey's what and what their place is, because our human consciousness cannot understand what happens when we leave this earth.
Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
Mike Fiore, thank you for joining, founder of Parents and Addicts in Need. Flindt Andersen.
Jason LaChance.
That is me. How are you, good sir?
I'm good. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to come on the show and, be able to give myself a voice. And I do want to thank you guys for your platform, because of platforms like what you guys have, we're able to get more information out there. It's one of the few good things on social media is the availability of information, right? And, you guys' platform, I love the show. I watched it. A couple of my friends have been on your show. So it's an honor to actually be on the show and speaking with you guys today.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.
Likewise, man. And I agree with you, because there's a lot of crap on social media. I'm getting better at filtering my content. Finally, my feed is like, oh, I don't have to face that BS today. But, we're three passionate guys, a part of a larger group of passionate people, not only in recovery, but organizations. And when you and I got to chatting, one of the positives of social media, getting a little more on your backstory, I was like, hey, do you have a take on harm reduction? You're like, yes, methadone for 12 years, 120 milligrams. I got a lot to say.
Yep. And not just that, I was born on methadone. So my mother actually was on methadone while I was in her womb. So not realizing it and doing the research afterwards, the first time I got high, it wasn't the first time I got high. Because as an infant, I went through withdrawal. So now my brain chemistry was already rewired as a child. And, when we do drugs, when we relapse, it's harder to get off of it because of everything that came back. So the first time that I actually used wasn't my first time I used, and it was something different. But 12 years, 120 milligrams, recently detoxed off of it a little over a year ago. So, I have a year off of it. Father was on it to the day he died. Both parents died of AIDS from heroin use. Two grandmothers, alcoholism, grandfather, heroin, uncle, heroin. So, growing up, I kind of thought it was my destiny to be an addict. I actually am now able to look back and appreciate the opportunity that my family has given me to now create a new legacy, right? And be the one that breaks that, in my family. But man, we talk about a lot about harm reduction, that's for sure.
Yeah, boy, Mike, and that's a tough thing. I remember speaking at a school recently, and one of the students asked, what can I ask you why you say you're a grateful alcoholic? And you're kind of the first other person to really put it in a way that, I get to break that cycle, which is just imperative to empower. But my God, so the methadone, I mean, Flindt, getting off of that can be tougher than some of the stuff that you're on to get it, get clean, so to speak.
Yeah, Mike.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I look. I was on it for it took me 2 years to get off of it. It was one of those things that, look, I'm all for harm reduction to an extent.
Me too.
It's because I think we a lot of times we're using harm reduction now as a pardon the term, but almost as an excuse to keep using. I mean, the old say, let's keep them alive, right? Which we all want to do, all right. But nobody's talking about abstinence anymore. And there's a few of us that are, because I am a firm believer in abstinence. The addict's mind, we're all pretty much the same in our thinking with this. And if somebody were going to allow me an opportunity to use, call it harm reduction, call it whatever you want, but allow me that opportunity to keep using something, man, my mind's going to go in 40 different directions, and I'm going to figure out a way how to not take that methadone, not take this, not take that, to go back to my other drug. Then I can bullshit somebody. And the story can just go crazy here. But there are certain things I do like about the harm reduction scene, and we'll take methadone. So you've got a 60, 65-year-old person that's on the street that homeless, whatever the case may be. And that's keeping them off of fentanyl and heroin and dirty needles and everything else, then I don't have a problem with it. But where I have a problem with methadone, Suboxone, those kinds of drugs, is that 20-year-old, the 25-year-old, the 30-year-old. Because, Mike, you know as well as I, when you're on methadone, you can only get it from that clinic that you went into. You cannot leave your city, your state, your country, anything, and get it at another location. And if you forget your methadone and you decide to go out of town for the weekend, you're screwed. End of story, right? So why are we saddling young people and giving them that opportunity and the possibility of being saddled with something for which could be the rest of their lives? That's my beef.
And I agree with you. So I think the issue with the harm reduction is people are trying to give each other life, right? I'm a man of God, so only God could give you life, and we have that life. I think we should be showing life, right? Not trying to give people life, right? So people like MAT saved my life. I gotta kind of disagree. MAT should give you the opportunity for you to save your own life, right? It should be used, but when we're on it, and like you said, well, I'm an addict. I want instant gratification. So you're gonna tell me that you're gonna give me a drug and I'm not gonna get sick? I got on methadone so I wouldn't feel withdrawal. I didn't get on methadone to get off the drugs. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then it's a money making scheme. Like, they know how to sell it to us. So you're gonna give me a synthetic form of heroin, right? Yeah. And you're going to let me come to your clinic and I don't need to have money for it. So, all right, so you're going to charge my insurance guaranteed money. And with it, my problem with it is they would let me go up on dose, no problem. Didn't even have to go see the doctor. The nurse at the window could do it. When it came down to come down on dose, now it's like, oh no, wait a second. You got to go see the doctor. You got to sit here for hours. We got to do testing on you. So, you know, I'm an addict. All right, figure I'll do it next time. With the harm reduction. So even Suboxone, right? Suboxone was approved by the FDA for a 2-week taper. So therefore, that means the FDA did not do studies on long-term effects of Suboxone because they never intended for it to be long-term. I've been trying to find studies that show the long-term effects of Suboxone, and I can't find it. Methadone, I could tell you because I see my parents. You get hunchback, you die spiritually, physically. When you're on the M18, you start getting the things back in your life because it gives us the opportunity to bring some things back in life. That's the moment, in my opinion, where you should start your tapering, because now you brought some good things in your life. So now you have something to fight for, because the detox is horrendous. Heroin, 3-4 days. Fentanyl might be 8-9 days. This is 16 days. 5 years it stays in your fat. I'm a year off of it. I still don't sleep more than 2 hours a night. I wake up with such bad anxiety that I wake up 2.5 hours before work because it takes me an hour just to equal out to get rid of the anxiety. But I do believe in harm reduction. I believe in naltrexone. I believe in Vivitrol. Why aren't we speaking about these things? It blocks the opiate receptor. So a lot of people have fear because they've been on MAT for so long. But if you got off of it, and it's a slow tapering process, I'm not saying get off it today, tomorrow, or the next day, It's a slow tapering. But the Vivitrol and the naltrexone, that is harm reduction. Safe sites. I do not believe in safe sites. It doesn't give you life. It doesn't show you life. It keeps you in the life, And then they want to legalize it. This is my issue with legalizing it. First and foremost, how you could ever think fentanyl being legal would help. Like, they would create a safe supply. The cartel is going to come out and give you more for your money, less of it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get. It's not going to stop the flow of it, So the safe sites, I can't see it. And I have issues with people that are in recovery. Like, are you on anything right now? No. How great is your life off of it right now? You know what I'm saying? Why would you want to promote to get people on? I get it. If you're using it correctly, it could be really beneficial in your life. Some people who could need to stay on it their whole life. So I'm not speaking to everybody, I'm speaking to the people that were like me on it. I didn't feel clean on it. I just
Right.
didn't.
Right.
I knew deep down inside that I wasn't fully there. And me now compared to me on it, I'm clean now. My thought process, my action, my feeling, everything is totally different. And not to say anything on Matt, but if you have conversations with people on Matt, you could see spiritually they won't have that awakening that you will have, because you're putting a chemical in your body that's not meant to be in your body for long term.
Right. Brother, you just said it all right there. I mean, I agree 120% with that. I mean, by the way, you forgot to throw in the constipation thing. Okay, with methadone. All right. I mean, it was so bad that they literally had to go and repair my insides because I tore everything. I mean, methadone, I would rather have these places say we're not treatment centers, we're maintenance centers. At least that way they're not lying to us, because, you know, they'll have their name and then treatment center afterwards. Well, you're not treating anything. I mean, I used to go in there. I had to see the counselor, right? What was it? Once a month or twice a month? You had to see your counselor, right? So I would go in there. I'd take my phone. I'd walk in.
I'm ready for this.
You ready for this? I would walk in. Swear to God, I'd walk in and I would set the timer for 50 minutes, and I'd set it down. I'd grab a magazine off her desk and I'd put my feet up and I'd start reading the magazine, and I would not answer one of her questions. I would not engage with her at all. Try doing that for 50 minutes when somebody's trying to talk to you. I refused to, because it was bullshit. All right. It was something that you just had to go through so you could get your dose and continue getting your dose. They don't give a shit about getting you clean. Again, I'm for-profit businesses, right? You have to make a living. But they're doing it just to keep us there. Up that dose? Absolutely not a problem.
You're a paycheck.
You're a paycheck. And it was so cool because when I finally, I think I went down like a milligram or two every week to 2 weeks. Right. So when I got it down, there was no pink in the bottle. It was just clear. And so I walked in there with that take-home box. I set it on the counter and I said, I'm done. And they go, really? And I go, yeah, really, I'm done. See ya. They go, well, you owe us $350 for the, I said, find me. And I gave them the box and I gave them everything and turned around, walked out and said, basically, that's it. Kiss my ass.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top-quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50-plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt Andersen and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment. To begin the process of recovery, to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
I mean, yeah, they could do a lot better with far as providing a curriculum while you're on, right? And giving you information, but they don't. And I get it. Some people get jobs in fields that they don't really care about people. Methadone, all you really need is 30 milligrams, unless it's fentanyl, because we're dealing with something different. But no more than 30 milligrams is the body needed. You know what I'm saying? Like I went to a blind detox facility, right? So they brought you down your dose without you telling it, because I couldn't do it at home. I just couldn't. So I went to a facility, and the way they did it was they mixed it with placebo the whole time. And when you went to the window, you weren't allowed to know your dose. And then 2 weeks, you're getting straight placebo, but you don't know that because you've been tasting it the whole time. Your body's starting to tell you that you're pretty low, especially when you're on 120 milligrams. But then they tell you after 2 weeks, oh, we don't got nothing for you. You're done. Oh, and by the way, you've been off for 2 weeks. You've been getting placebo for 2 weeks. So like I wasn't having the yawning or the sneezing. But once they told me that, I started yawning. I started sneezing. I started getting hot and cold sweats because it's a mind thing too with us at the same time. And then I got on the Vivitrol, you know what I'm saying? And I got on the Vivitrol because it removes cravings and triggers because you can't get high.
Right.
You know, so like, is the system flawed? 100 million%. But this is why I think we need to have the conversation. So like, I'm not even saying that you're a bad person. If you're on the methadone, you're on it 30 years, 5 milligrams, and it's working for you, great. You don't want to get off it, fine. I speak more to the people that if you want to get off of it, if you want to experience a life that could possibly be better than what you're getting. There's people out here like you and I that have done it. And one of the things I really don't agree with when it comes to harm reduction, and people say I forget where I came from, is the legalization of drugs.
Oh,
right?
God, yes.
Because this is how I look at it, right? And they like to compare it to prohibition with alcohol. So like it's crazy to me. But you legalize drugs, you decriminalize it. All right, I get it, right? So people aren't going to jail because it's us addicts that are going to jail for the most part because we're selling to support our habit. Granted, you know how many people I could provide stories that because they went to jail on the drugs and they had a kick on the drugs, they're no longer on the drugs. So now by decriminalizing it, you're removing something from somebody's journey that God needed them to go through so they could speak on their experience and become a testimony. So one, you're removing that. Two, I don't envy alcoholics because you got to pass a liquor store. First dates are always a drink. People are drinking at baby showers. People are drinking at their 1-year-old birthday party. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. So now as an addict, I could be going through a hard day. I walk down the block. You tell me I could buy a 50 of Coke and go walk in the store and get it. You tell me I go pick up a pill. So now it's more in my face. And then we go even a little deeper. There's people that are called law-abiding citizens. They follow the law. You know, they're good quote unquote citizens. You make it legal. Well, you don't think that people that weren't going to do drugs might now start doing drugs? Because I can provide stories of people that never smoked weed, but now that weed's legal in their state, they're puffed the magic dragon all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't agree with some of it. The needle exchanges, because my parents got AIDS, I agree with it. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to do it. But, you know, when people are handing out sniff kits, you know, like there has to come a point where we have to be held accountable for our actions. And I don't offer sympathy to addicts, right? Like, if you fall on the floor, I'm not giving you my hand to pick you up, because whenever I had that hand given to me and was picked up, when I fell again, I looked for that hand, right? I got this right when there was no longer hands to pick me up, and I had to pick myself up. So what I do is, if you fall, I'm going to sit with you on that floor. I'm gonna listen to you. I'm not gonna try to give you as much as advice. I'm just gonna hear. I'm gonna keep you company until you're ready to stand. And then when you stand, I'm gonna stand with you. And then when you walk, I'll walk with you. So now you can now go back into the darkness and grab somebody else out. It's the empathy. I think a lot of this harm reduction is addicts trying to give other addicts sympathy. You know, my parents died so I could live. They did heroin and shot up. I never shot up because of that. Some of us have to die so others could live. And it's not my place to say why God does what and whose journey's what and what their place is, because our human consciousness cannot understand what happens when we leave this earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we believe there's heaven, but we really don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know where those people are that lost their life. They could be up there right now living in paradise, because that's what I believe is waiting for me, paradise. This isn't meant to be paradise. It's just not. This is your opportunity to earn your place in paradise.
Well said.
And if you know, and for people that maybe aren't in the same frame mind here, you know, just look at how real the streets are now, how bad it is, how much news. I mean, Jesus, I see something in LA yesterday. There was one block where they found 6 people that died, overdosed on fentanyl.
What was it, Skid Row?
It was somewhere. It was near Hollywood, you know, an area that used to be nicer, but it's riddling the streets. It riddles our streets here where you're at. And now all of a sudden there is no, like you said, consequence of this action, you know, bringing up the alcoholism. It led me to consequence that scared the shit out of me, that got me going that way. If I had never had consequences, you know, like, what is it? Where's the line? What? So now all of a sudden I can legally do heroin. What about driving with it? How do we manage that? How are we all of a sudden going to bring all these things in? Where's the freaking line that we're going to draw? It just says, this is wrong. This is not okay.
Right. It's not. In fact, and I think you know this, Jason, there was an assemblywoman from San Francisco. This is four years ago that they were thinking about starting that safe injection site in San Francisco. And I'm writing them letters and I'm trying to get in contact with them, saying you are starting an avalanche here. All right. That you're going to have no control over whatsoever. Absolutely none. Safe injection site. Oh, okay. So I said, is it going to be open 24 hours? Or are you just going to open it from 8 to 5? Because what's the addict going to do before 8 and after 5? We're going to we're going to break into stores. We're going to do whatever it takes to get the money to get our drugs so we can get high. I said, you're creating just another mess that we don't know how to run any of this stuff. That, we just don't. It's just bullshit, and I'm getting tired of it.
And I love their pitch, we'll have counselors there. Well,
oh, yeah.
Therapists there. Listen, when I'm high, I'll tell Jesus Christ I'm done with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll say whatever I got to say. But what stops someone from standing outside a safe sign and be like, yo, listen, I got some fentanyl. There's doctors up there. They'll bring you back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
what stopped? Our country will never decriminalize it. There's way too much money in it being illegal. Right. Our economy would collapse, especially during COVID, if drugs were legal. They made more money off it being illegal. You know what I'm saying? You got politicians and government officials in bed with the cartels and the Chinese. So they're never going to make it legal. So I focus my energy on things that I think will make a difference. I try to attack the addiction as the mental illness that it is. You know what I'm saying? It's the mindset, the lifestyle, and the way of living of being an active addiction. And recovery, it's a mindset, it's a lifestyle, and it's a way of living. The drug and the drink is not our problem. It's a very minute problem. We have to get to the roots of the problem. So like what I speak on is more finding the value in our pain, because when you have a spiritual awakening, when your spirit is alive, pain no longer wounds you. Pain actually makes you wiser. You know what I'm saying? You start to, spirituality is your relationship with reality, if you don't want to say God. All right, so the reality that you live in, are things happening for you or things happening to you? Because if things are always happening for you, then everything I have value. You'll find something in but if things are happening to you, like I thought in active addiction, everything was personal. So therefore I always played the victim. I always played the self-pity. And then I realized the company I kept is what kept me in active addiction. And I don't mean people, right? Complaining and confusion were my two companions. Those were my two best friends. So all I ever did was be complaining and confusion. So then my advisor was my doubt. I doubted everything. So then misery became my motivation. Ego became this illusion of a reality that the drugs created, that everything was your fault and never my fault. And then pride came in, and I never asked for help because of my pride. So like I try to attack this at the root of it. That's why I love speaking at schools, because these kids are going through what I went through, the people pleasing, the validation, wanting to be everyone's friend, manipulating and lying and trying to become someone you're not just to get someone to like you. What the kids nowadays got to deal with is social media. I didn't have to deal with social media.
Oh, God,
I just had to deal with my own little clique. Social media, damn, is that a drug? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, and you could get your drugs easier on social media than anything. And you can't sue the social media companies because it's like the telephone company. If you and I have a phone call on the AT&T line and we do something and something happens to you, we can't sue the people that connected the call. You know what I'm saying? So you can't sue social media for connecting people to websites and pages because they have that cleared. The government is protecting them on that. People are trying to get that law passed, but that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No.
One of the other things you were talking about too is quote, the war on drugs. A lot of people with harm reduction, for some reason, a lot of these folks are saying and I agree, we're never going to win the war on drugs. But I have a but here. We've got those borders. We talk about this all the time. We've got the Chinese that are manufacturing this crap. They're in bed with the cartels in Mexico. They're coming over the border. We are the United States. We can put a serious dent in this if we wanted to, just like you said, if we wanted to.
But we don't.
But we don't. and we're not. Okay, every now and then we get a little bust here, we get a little bust here. But damn it, I'm telling you, I don't understand why people aren't getting more angry about this, and why aren't we going after these? Look, Jason knows this. I had this one thought one time with Afghanistan and all the heroin. You simply call. I mean, I'm a simple guy. You call up Afghanistan and say, "Hey, assholes, okay, you got 72 hours to get out of Dodge because we're coming in with F-16s and we're gonna napalm every field you have. All right, so you can never grow anything there again because we're gonna nuke your poppy fields." Well, we're never gonna do that. But that is somewhat of a solution if we wanted to do it, but we're never going to. So the problem is, Mike, I think that us three and others out there, and there's thousands of us out there that are preaching what we're preaching. And we almost have to look at it like we're doing this for one person at a time.
And that's all it is.
And that's all it is, because we're never, but when we have our own, let me just say this, our own so-called people that are in recovery, that are in this fight with us, that are almost saying, they don't even want to go after the cartels or go after China. I take issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do take issue with that. It's like, why not? This isn't lollipops and fucking rainbows. Okay. This is something we've got to take serious, and we've got to do something about it, or else, hell, we're just going to continue to lose people like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, with this fentanyl, we're losing somebody every 5 minutes, right?
Right.
And to get on the fentanyl, the topic of it, right? Our government is very good at using verbiage to mislead people, right? And my issue is calling it an overdose, right?
Right.
The definition of an overdose is the excessive use of drugs. My partner, the executive director for Voices for Awareness and Facing Fentanyl, lost her daughter to a half a pill. She was an alcoholic, pancreatitis, ran out of her pills, got a pill off the street, took a half a pill and died, right? Wow. So a lot of these autopsies are showing kids with a very small amount of fentanyl. So how is that an excessive use of drugs? It's actually a poisoning. But when you say overdose, society thinks it's an addict's problem, because the word overdose was created for us addicts because we would overuse the heroin. With fentanyl, how could you call it an overdose? If you want to, then tell me what a safe dose is of it, because you can't tell me what a safe dose of heroin is. I mean, fentanyl. So it's an overdose. So we get a little further deep into it. It's not laced with fentanyl no more. The definition of laced is the minority of, right? No. It's fentanyl made with cocaine now. It's fentanyl made with heroin. The pills you're getting on the street, unless it's from a doctor that's not online, because 90% of pharmacies are fake online. Unless you're getting it from a doctor where you're going and seeing a doctor, getting the script, and your pills are pressed. 1,000,000%. You know the little sugar packets, those equals? There's enough fentanyl in that packet to kill 500 people. Right. We got enough fentanyl coming into the country on a monthly basis to wipe out the whole 330 million people that we have in our country. It's not a drug. It's not an epidemic. It's not a pandemic. It's a plague. We're being exterminated. And then I get further deep in it. I believe our children are being targeted. And people are like, well, it's not that. First off, these kids can't even experiment no more like we did. That's over. When I go to speak in schools, listen, when I was 14, I didn't have people dying on drugs. I go to these schools and I ask them, raise your hand if you know anyone that's on fentanyl. The hand raises. Keep your hand up if you know someone that died on fentanyl. The hand raises. I was on an Indian reservation in Montana speaking on fentanyl because the kids are dying on the reservation. Yeah, they are. So you could be in a town of 20 people. It's there. You could be in a town of 20 million people. It's there waiting for you. So we're not going to stop the flow of it. So this is where I think us addicts have to get involved, right? Yeah. Because if we're not picking up the drug, stealing the drug, robbing the drug, or selling the drug, the demand of the drug goes down. why we're even more important if we're in recovery, because my parents were addicts. I didn't listen to a goddamn word they said about it.
Right.
I knew better. But when someone like me that sounds like me, looks like me, and tells me what I'm thinking without me even saying it, now I'm going to listen to you. So the recovery community actually has to get involved. We have to get in the communities. We got to go to the schools and speak. We got to keep getting louder and louder till they understand what's going on, because the fentanyl, they're changing the analogs too much.
Yes,
so
they
this
are.
vaccine that they're talking about is bullshit too, because I don't believe in it. And I work with people in Houston University, and I did some research because someone had put out a video talking about it, and I asked some people, and the person was actually right. And the person is, I don't know if you guys who Narcan Nate is, right? So the dude Narcan Nate was talking about how there's different analogs to it. So you can't make a vaccine for it, because if you make a vaccine for analog A, analog B is coming out, so that vaccine don't work. But then we go deeper. If you get the vaccine for it, what happens to people that are on pain management? What happens to people that actually might need to go to the hospital and get some kind of pain? They won't be able to get it. So when I hear vaccine, I think COVID, I think money. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Because everybody's jumping on the bandwagon.
I don't see because you got xylazine coming out right now.
Right. Absolutely.
Xylazine's running rapid. There's another drug. I have people in New York City. It's called Brufenin or something like that. It's purple, stronger than fentanyl. When you cook it and shoot it up, it stays purple. It's not even a purple dye. People are shooting purple shit.
It's because methamphetamine is added to it. That's why that's what gives it the purple color. Okay. Yeah. It's another grade of fentanyl, but there's meth that's added to it. That's what gives it that purple. There's another one called Gray Death. That's another one. That's another one that's out there. But I want to go back to the Vivitrol thing for a minute.
Okay.
One of the things we do as a society is we sabotage ourselves. And let me explain that. Here we've got Vivitrol, which is a fantastic drug. It comes in two forms. It comes in an injectable, excuse me, and it comes in a pill. Why would we even develop the pill? Because all of us addicts have to do is not take the damn thing on a Tuesday so we can use on a Saturday. But you give the injection once a month, right? You can't use, or you know what's going to happen. Right. And so now, and I've been involved in this for a long time. And then you get parents that go, well, I'm just going to give my child the option. I go, the option, my ass. Okay. You don't give them the option. You tell them they're going to take the injection, or guess what? They're out on their own. That's all. I mean, so we have that again, because it's a moneymaker. It's another form of it. It's like, Mike, I did just off the record here for a minute. I wrote a piece.
Is that your way of telling me to edit this out?
Yeah, no, you have to edit this out.
Okay.
No. So I did a piece, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, just on the number of opioids that we have as a society. Now I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but you'll get the gist of it. So we have something like 32 different types of hydrocodone. We have 20 different types of morphine. We have, again, 17 different types of codeine. Hydromorphone, 10 different. I mean, we've got, why in the hell do we need so much of it? And I mean, what, we can't just sell Vicodin? We just can't, you know what I'm saying? So we have this tendency to sabotage ourselves from A to Z when it comes to narcotics in this country, because it's all money making opportunities for people.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
The money is being made and they don't like their pockets being hurt. So what we're doing is not popular demand. And you got to remember, like, even with TikTok, right? So China owns TikTok. So therefore they control the algorithm. So they're not going to help you promote anything that's going to make them, because the largest gang, I forget the name of it, because I work with a couple people with the DEA. They got extradited out of China. Where did you think they went? They went to Mexico.
Yeah.
And once they went to Mexico, our country set up fentanyl to be able to take over because they stopped big pharmaceutical making those Roxys, those blues, right?
Yep.
So once they stopped it, they already had people hooked on it. They gave the cartel us on a silver platter. You know what I'm saying? So once they took those pills away, cartel was like, all right, let's do it. And they put it out there. And then people are like, well, why would the cartel want to make a drug that kills you? My rebuttal is Amazon. Everyone knows Amazon. They take millions of dollars of losses in a year, but yet they don't go bankrupt. Why? Because their profit margin is ridiculous. Right. It's costing them like a penny to make these pills. I was in Montana. They're selling for $100. And then we go even a little further. We're a superpower, right? United States. You can't beat us military in the military. It's just not happening. So let's look back into history because history teaches us some things, right? My opinion, right? In medieval times and times like that, larger empires, what was their requirement of payment of smaller empires? Children. Yeah. Why? Because so you couldn't build an army to fight against them. They're wiping our children out, the future politicians, police officers, doctors, lawyers. They're wiping out a whole generation, the generation that needs to come up behind us to keep us a superpower. So this is a slow, monotonous fight that we're in right now. But people aren't catching on to it because of social media. My issue with social media is these 5 and 7 second videos, right? That people want to do because it gets you the views, followers, and likes. Guess what? As an addict, I know all too well about views, followers, and likes making me do things that I don't want to do, right? But these 5 and 7 second videos, they're limiting our attention span. All we're doing is flipping and scrolling and watching a 5. So, all right, you got 100,000 views on your 7-second video. Those 100,000 people forgot about your video because they just watched another 100 videos within the next 10 minutes because they're 5 and 7-second videos. That mindset, our brain is a muscle. It's trained to just keep going, whatever is getting repeated in them. That mindset now goes into society. Now our attention span in society is 5 and 7 seconds like a goldfish. So we're not actually paying attention to what's really going on. This is bigger, way bigger. People need to wake up and understand where it's coming from all angles because it's not just one way. You know what I'm saying? And it amazes me with the amount of lives. And it's funny because the 100,000 people that the CDC came out in April, right? So it was from, I think, 2019 to 2020 April. Where's the numbers from 2020 to 2021 in April? Why haven't we heard those numbers yet? You know what I'm saying? Where's those numbers? Because those numbers are probably double or triple. But why ain't you telling us those numbers? Why are we still basing the 100,000 lives lost for something that happened almost 2 years ago? Like, where's the numbers now? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. Well, and on that too, I'm glad you bring up like the things like TikTok is 2 points on that with social media. Of course, I know the people open the phone, close the phone, open it a couple seconds later. We are still getting different dopamine hits and everything else. And then you take TikTok, like you said, created in China. I have a friend that he went to Europe and he goes, guess what? You get different content there. And if you don't think they're filtering the content here to our youth, you're fucking kidding yourself. They are. They're dumbing us down.
Yeah, they are.
They're making it to where you can see it. Young women, you are valued by how you look, how you can shake your ass. Yes. And that is solely, it's not on content of character. And young men, I don't even know anymore.
Well, and then on TikTok, then every now and then I will go through it, right? And then all of a sudden I will see a scene in China where you've got 100,000 women dressed militarily marching down the streets, right? In step, perfectly dressed, nothing out of place. I mean, it's, and then that goes away. And then maybe a day later, you'll see the guys militarily dressed with, like Russia used to do, right? Throw those parades. And so they're throwing that content in there to let us know how powerful they are while we're sitting there scrolling through our phones.
Yeah, I mean, George Orwell called it, no? My man wrote
Yeah.
1984 and 1968, and he
Right.
called everything that's happening. Words are being changed. The definitions of words are being changed. Everything's being monitored. You know what I'm saying? Everything is digital. They know how we're spending our money, where we're spending our money. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a bigger problem than I think people actually realize. And it's like, I guess when you wake up and you see something, like there's no unseeing something that you've seen. So like, but it's also like you got to pick and choose now, right? You got to pick and choose. You got to get the people with you that are going to fight the way you're going to fight, or at least fight with you. There's so much division, and they know what they're doing. We got enough division in our own recovery community. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's always going to be division, but it's just where we're at. You know what I'm saying? I still believe that we live in a beautiful world. I do believe there's beautiful people out there doing wonderful things, you know, and that's why I'll never give up on humanity, because it's not my place to ask why things are happening. I think it's my place on X and how could I be of service?
Of course. But you know what? I'm going to say something to you two guys, because this is important, and it really is. Whether somebody else thinks so or not, I don't care. You know, I've been at this since 2009 and before. I'm 67. This is going to be up to you guys. This is going to be in your laps. All right. This is going to be in the laps of other people that are your age and younger, and those people in recovery. Because as much as I love what I do, and I do, you know it, I love it. I live for this, because most of us, I shouldn't be sitting here. There's no reason in the world why I should be sitting here right now. But the reality is this: as I get older, people, not a lot, but they're starting to look like, okay, well, I'm the old man here. I'm the hard ass. Okay. You're not thinking in today's world, right? Well, I'm thinking just about recovery and how recovery works. And for whatever reasons, the way I think about it, it works. But we're going to need guys like you and young women that you guys know that are going to have to take this thing over and fight till you can't fight anymore. Because if you guys don't, we're really screwed. I'm not joking. If you guys don't, and you guys are doing a wonderful job, but you got to keep going, and you cannot get discouraged over this thing. You cannot let this thing beat you down, because I'll tell you guys right now, there are times, and there have been times over the years where I've just sat there and wanted to go, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But then God comes back in and says, oh no, I'm not done with you yet.
I think that's why the one life is so important, and that's what the focus should be. Because when we try to fix this in the macro of things, we're going to get discouraged, because it's going to be real difficult to fix the micro, right? That's why the name of my company is Inspired to Inspire, right? Because we all have something inside of us that can inspire someone else on their journey. So what I focus on is making one life better today than it was yesterday, because that one life, I don't think we realize the ripple effect. That one life is now going to come across maybe 100 other lives in that same day. So now if you're able to create something in that one life that wasn't there yesterday, that gives them some kind of hope or inspiration, they will then pass that on to somebody else. So one life becomes two. 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, so on and so forth. When we try to attack this, I think in the macro of it is when we fail, because we only could do what? One day at a time. It's really that simple. So it is one life at a time. People want to do it on a large scale for the attention. For what it's going to bring towards, like, look at me, I saved 1 million people. No, that's not how this works. Because what happens if you can't save those 1 million people? You're not going to be your best self for everybody that comes across your path. Because I work in the treatment. So I don't know if you know, I live in California. I'm about an hour and a half from LA. I live in Riverside, but I work in treatment out here. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the lives are, because I spoke at a high school in Las Vegas. It's a recovery high school.
Mm-hmm.
Every kid in that high school is in recovery. So they bust kids. This is where we're at with drugs, by the way, that we actually got to have a high school for it, right? So they bust kids from different schools to this one school so they could build a camaraderie. So when I spoke there, I had the great opportunity of speaking to the principal, the vice principal. It's like, you guys got to start a counsel program. You got to let these kids get into the field because they're young enough to get the education to become directors. They're young enough to get the education to have their own facilities. That's how treatment gets changed. By these I met an 18-year-old with 4 years clean. I'm like, yo, dude, you're my idol. 18 with 4 years clean. I'm like, dude, I got high longer than you're alive, and you got 3 more years clean than me, bro. Like, you're my idol. But those are the kids. So we got like this youth ambassador program that we're starting nationwide right now, not just for kids in recovery, for kids of parents that are addicts because they can't help their parents. So now you give them an opportunity to help people because, you know, us addicts, if we don't want help, we don't come from our kids, our mother, Jesus Christ, come down. We ain't getting the help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we have to want it for ourselves. So like, that's how because treatment has to change. Like, there's a lot that has to change.
A lot
like,
has to change.
It's not just the drugs on the street. It's treatment being provided. You know, there's so much community outreach work and politicians, and it's a long, strenuous fight. But we're in a generation, like I'm from a generation that was around before social media. So I see the bullshit on social media because I'm a kid from the street. 3 words and a certain body movement, I know you're full of shit. But on social media, you know what I'm saying? On social media, you can manipulate a lot easier for people because people ain't leaving their house no more. People ain't getting the life experiences of being on the street and scraping their knee in the schoolyard, and they're not getting these experiences. So it's so easy to manipulate people from behind the camera because I could be whoever I want for 20 seconds, a minute, even an hour, and then I could turn this off and go be a scumbag piece of shit, excuse my language, and you wouldn't even know because all you seeing is what I'm presenting, you know? So that's why I you know, like this fight is so huge, but I just stay in my lane. I speak the way I could speak. Whatever God wants me to say comes out of my mouth. But like, we need so many different people that are good at so many different things, but find your one niche and master that niche and bring that to the table. We don't need 100. Like, if you're on a sports team, baseball, you don't have like 10 of the best, you know, same hitters. No, you got contact hitters, power hitters. Basketball, you got shooters, you got defenders. Football, your wide receivers. We need to complement each other. I think we're trying to be too much like each other, and that's social media with trends. Everyone's doing the same shit, man. Everyone's just doing the same shit.
Yeah. Well, and even in treatment, there, you know, again, Jason and I, we've talked about this a lot. There's so many people jumping on this bandwagon, all right, that are, it's like they want to be seen. They want to be heard because I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and hell, half of them are doing more damage than good at this because they just want to jump on the bandwagon. They're not in the dirt. They're not down in the trenches like some of us are, you know, and I can only hope and pray that they just don't take anybody down with them, you know, to be honest with you, because we're always going to get that. You know what I'm saying? We're always going to get somebody that's in it for the wrong reasons. I don't care what profession you're in. You're always going to get somebody that's in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I agree.
But also treatment. Yeah. I mean, man, I'd love to sit down in another segment and talk to you about this because I own a treatment center as well. And
where's the treatment center? It's in Cali?
Yeah. We have it right here in Hanford, California, about 30 minutes from us in Fresno. And I have a partner. It's called New Perceptions North. I have a partner that I've worked with for 15 years. She's got 33 years of recovery from heroin, and she moved from LA up to here to start it. So yeah, so
you're further towards San Francisco from LA.
We are right, yes, but we're basically right in the middle.
We're in the middle of
LA and San Francisco. Oh yeah, yeah.
It's about what 20.
You guys were in Cali.
Yeah. It's about 25 minutes for us to pass the center of the state line.
Something like that.
Yeah, it goes from like not oak trees, but something like that to palm trees. It's the center of the state line where they designated. It changes. We're like right by there. Yeah. But you know, and the other thing too, Mike, you bring up such a good point that talking about you can just hide and for 20 seconds be anywhere on a boat. And what the dangers of that I see, and Flindt knows this is one of my favorite sayings, I might even get it tattooed on me eventually, is no outside solutions to inside problems. And the more shit, especially our youth, is seeing that is I have the pretty girl, I am the pretty girl, I have the car, I have the boyfriend, whatever it is, I have this and that. Life is all of a sudden fulfilled with stuff.
Right.
And as a product of a kid of the 80s that had a lot of stuff, I'm here to tell you, it's not the fucking solution.
Right.
And my desire to get back to the point of having a lot of stuff to matter to other people had a lot to do with me going further into my addiction.
Yeah. Sure.
You know me both. I attach my identity to things outside of myself. So the car, the apartment, the job. When you lose those things, you have no identity. So therefore, led me to drinking, led me to drugging. You know, like society tells us we deserve everything, right? You deserve everything. And then it comes and tells you, well, you're not good enough for any of it. So you can't listen to what society. So my identity became something that I could have $1 or $1 million. I'm still good. My identity is how I speak and treat people. My identity is how I speak and treat myself. Because at the end of the day, no matter what I have or don't have in my life, those two things cannot be taken from me. I have to give them up. You know what I'm saying? You could have your car taken away from you. You could have your job taken away from you. You could have your girlfriend, boyfriend taken away from you. Nobody could take away how you treat and speak people and how you speak and treat yourself. For me, that's what's grounded me so well in my recovery, by making my identity something that cannot be taken away from me.
Right. Yeah. And I'll tell you what's grounded me and mine is absolutely telling the truth about this stuff. You know, and a lot of people say, well, you know what, you may say it a little rough. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm okay with that. You know, Mike, I know that when I go to bed at night, I sleep very well, because like you said, it's how you treat people. And you treat them well by telling them the truth. It's just that simple. Because if we can't be honest with ourselves, how the hell are we going to be honest with anybody else?
Yeah.
There's a quote: we'll rather cling to a pretty lie than face the ugly truth.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And the ugly truth is, hey, drugging and drinking, there's nothing gorgeous about it. I don't care how it's advertised to you.
Yeah.
We have a young man that we did an episode with, Julian. He's amazing. And he was like, yeah, I knew fentanyl could kill me. And I went up to, he's like talked about literally looking up that dose that was lethal and getting just below it, measuring it out because he wanted to get to the threshold. So there's something pretty about this. There's some point where we can deliver this in a nice little bow and a butterfly and go, it's not. This is life or death shit, people. It is. It's just that simple. And even if you're not dead on the outside in appearance, it's the death of inside.
Which is worse. Which is worse because you're actually feeling the death. At least if you die, that's it. You're in your most comfortable state you'll ever be in. Death is the most comfortable state we'll ever be in. No stress, nothing to deal with. That's it. It's over. So if death is the most comfortable, what do you think life has to be if life is the opposite of death? It means you got to be uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? That's real life. Learn how to be uncomfortable and fighting through it. So that's why I think addicts are not forsaken. I think that's why we're chosen, because we go through such an uncomfortable state to kick whatever our dependency is, right? Because there's many forms of dependency with addiction. You got codependency, eating, sex, gambling. Addiction's a mental illness. We just chose the drug or the drink.
Correct.
I think if people could actually realize that addiction is the most common human behavior amongst all of mankind, maybe we won't have these quote unquote stigmas that addiction is a drug and drink problem. Maybe we'll start coming together and actually understanding, you know what, we actually are more alike than we are. And we could fight every addiction together, because I could substitute real easy as an addict. All right, I'm not doing the drug, but now I'm shopping. All right, I'm not doing the drug, but now I'm gambling. But if I have those type of people in my life, they can show me the early signs of it. That's why I don't understand. You have NA and AA. Why don't we have a certain group that's just all addictions?
All A.
All A.
Yeah.
Just all A.
Just come here anonymously.
Right.
That's fine. Yeah.
Exactly.
Shoot. Oh, man, you had said something else, and now I had forgot because we got on to another. I want to ask you because, man, like, Mike, knowing some of your background and what you shared, like, I am big on talking boundaries. like how the establishment of boundaries, because I think if we did a better job with our youth on boundaries, it would help a lot of the issues they're facing now. Because when you said it, that's what it was. The people pleasing, the manipulation, I played the role for everybody in every way, So how about you?
With boundaries, what I usually tell the kids is a real friend, right? A real friend is someone that's going to challenge you. A real friend is going to tell you, listen, you could be doing better, right? But you know what? Let's find a better way together, right? A real friend isn't always going to yes you and always pat you on the back and only be around you when you have something for them. You know what I'm saying? Like a real friend is going to be with you whether you got something or you don't have anything whatsoever. When it comes to boundaries, if you tell somebody no and they have a problem with you telling them no, that's a person you make a boundary with. You know what I'm saying? If you do something bad and they co-sign your shit, maybe co-sign it in front of people that have your back because you're friends. But when you go into private and they don't tell you what you did was wrong, get rid of that person too. Because what I need in my life are people that are going to challenge me. What I need in my life are people that are doing better than me so they could show me a better way and help me find my way through that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need people. My loyalty has an expiration date. And when I say that, people get upset. And you know why it has an expiration date? Because I don't care if you're messing up. I don't care if you're relapsing. If you're getting up and you're trying your best, I'm rocking with you. But if you ain't trying nothing, you're going to sabotage my shit. So you know what? I'm going to move on from you. And you are only seeing my back, not because I'm turning it on you. You're seeing my back because I got to continue to walk forward. But you could come back in my life at any point. You just got to bring that energy that I'm rocking with because I'm real protective of my energy. If anyone comes into your life and it violates your peace, listen to what your body tells you, not what your mind tells you. Our heart has its own place where it remembers things. I forget what it's called, but the heart actually helps you remember things and feels things. It's not just for pumping blood. You know what I'm saying? Like our mind, you think everything, no, there's a lot that listen to your heart. Your gut will tell you what's right and what's wrong because that's what the Holy Spirit is inside of us.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Whew. Wow. This has been fantastic, man.
Part 2. We'll have to do down the line.
Part 2, I'll come in the studio if you guys want, man.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah. You bet.
That's a plan right there.
Yep. We'll just set it up, man. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity for sure. I'm going to send you guys some things. We got a fentanyl awareness event concert coming up in January. If you guys are able to come down, I would love to introduce you guys into what a lot of my partner organizations with. We deal with human trafficking, domestic violence. We're trying to become the population. So the more people I can bring together, the better we get.
Yeah, absolutely. Send us that information as soon as you can because we will, if our calendars allow, we will be there. Yep,
awesome.
No question.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add first before we wrap up, Mike? Maybe how people can find you, the work that you're doing?
Sure. So again, my name is Michael Fiore, CEO and founder of Inspire to Inspire, as well as director of outreach for Voices for Awareness Facing Fentanyl, as well as the Sober app. You can find me on Instagram, Mike, M-I-K-E, Fiore, F-I-O-R-E 118. On TikTok, it's Inspire, the number 2, Inspire _ with no spaces or anything like that. If you're dealing with addiction, got a family member dealing with addiction, and you just don't think there's a way out, DM me, man. What's one more conversation going to hurt you? Maybe 2 addicts can find drugs in the middle of the Sahara Desert. 2 addicts can find a better way to live together, man.
You bet.
Never heard it
right, that's
any better.
We can find the Sahara Desert.
Oh shit, Mr. Andersen.
Mike, thank you. This has been an absolute joy, man. I'm not kidding. I love what you're doing. I do follow you, and I see all the stuff that you're doing. I think it's wonderful. Keep up the good work, and then, man, we're going to do this again real soon. Thank you, brother.
No problem. Looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page.